She has done this at Clay Chamber Counter, at some small business resource network meetings, and we're so lucky to have her here today as an expert to give us some information and a lot of questions that we get asked at the Women's Business Center around not only the Paycheck Protection Program, but also around auto, equipment, and real estate loans. So we hope that you get some takeaways today. Please ask your questions in the chat. The way we'll do Q&A today is that we'll ask Q&A questions after we complete the PPP portion. And then again, at the end, we'll have question time for the commercial loans portion, kind of splitting it up. So make sure that you take your notes throughout and we'll address those appropriately. I'll let Tillery go ahead and share her screen. While she does that and gets the presentation rolling, I'm gonna read her bio so that you guys know a little bit about her. So Tillery Durbin is the Director of Business Services for Jacksonville-based One-to-One Financial Credit Union. She graduated from UNF, whoop, so did I, with a degree in elementary education. But instead, she entered the finance industry in 2013 by joining One-to-One. An ardent learner, Tillery focused on understanding the basics and complexities of business finance, including the different types of businesses and their unique financial needs, and engaged frequently with the credit union's business members. By engaging with business members and learning their unique stories, she was able to bring out the teacher within her and provide guidance, which is why I know we're so lucky to have her here today. She's got great advice and counsel on financial products and services to meet your specific goals and needs. She's also taken her expertise outside of One-to-One Financial, serving as a financial resource for numerous local organizations, like I just mentioned. So the Clay County Chamber of Commerce, the UNF Small Business Resource Networks, the Women's Business Centers, and she leads these networking and educational programs for business owners and conducts a variety of presentations to do so. She's also a sought after resource by many local businesses, and she won some amazing awards in 2020 by the SBA. So I know I got to sit in at the SBA local office in North Florida and celebrate with Tillery and her successes with our old administrator, Jovita Carenza. So that was incredible outcome for you. Thank you, Tillery. So that is next up in her bio. She was honored and awarded 4 prestigious national and local awards in 2020. So she got the 2020 Credit Union Rockstar by the Credit Union National Association, the 2020 U.S. Small Business Administration North Florida District Small Business Advocate of the Year, the 2020 Florida Small Business Development Center, SBDC, Volunteer of the Year for the UNF region, and she was also the 2020 Clay Chamber of Commerce Chairman's Award honoree. Showcasing her commitment to her industry, Tillery is recognized as one of only 5 certified credit union business lending professionals in Jacksonville. She's a graduate of the Jacks Chambers and Women's Business Center's Venture Leadership Program, and she's also completed numerous credit union education program courses. Additionally, her work at One-to-One has earned credit union several SBA awards during the past few years, including the North Florida Top Credit Union and Top 3rd Party Mortgage Lender in North Florida 4 consecutive years. Woo! That's awesome. That doesn't get you hyped up for what you're going to hear today. I don't know what will, but thank you, Tillery. I will take myself and spotlight your camera.
Can you make me a co-host?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
It wouldn't let me. Thank you.
I'm sorry. There we go.
It's okay.
Perfect.
All right. Make sure I'm sharing the correct screen, and then give me 1 second.
Perfect. I see it up there.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we will get started. The beginning slide is my information. So I have it up there for you. And then at the end, it will be up there. So as we do Q&A, I'll leave it up there again if anybody wants to take down my information for it. So we'll get started. So topics that we're going to discuss today, kind of as Jackie had mentioned. So round 2, PPP, the rules and regulation changes that recently came out. And then we'll talk about commercial lending as the second half of this. So PPP, we advise that you talk to your banker or your lender. Lenders are not required to participate in the program for PPP. These are loans that are not done by the SBA.gov. You do have to find a lender or a third-party lender like a PayPal or Cabbage was doing these as well. You do not have to use the same lender from round one that you used for round two. So if you got a paycheck protection loan last year and you were not happy with the experience, you do not have to use that same lender. Some people feel that they do and you do not. What you need to know to change lenders is you need to know your SBA account number. It's 10 digits. It should be on your application or it should be on your promissory note you signed with them. But if not, you can always call the bank or credit union and find that information. You need to know the exact loan amount. So, did you get $9,500? And that you should see deposited into your bank statement. And you need to know the exact name that you got the PPP in. So was it given to you personally or was it given to your company? Was it an LLC? Was it an Inc? So exactly how is it listed? And again, that should be on your documents. So the documents that you signed to get that paycheck protection loan should tell you the exact legal name that you did. You do not have to file for PPP forgiveness round one in order to apply for round two. So if you got a loan last year and you have not filed for forgiveness, or your lender says they're not taking applications at this time, you can still apply for round two, and that is perfectly fine. You do not have to have round one taken care of before applying for round two. That's one of those things that people have been kind of hearing about. So PPP, and we're going to call it Program 2021. So this year's program, whether you are a first-time borrower or a second-time borrower, what can you use the money for? You can use the money for payroll, including benefits. We didn't really get an explanation of benefits, but it just says benefits. Mortgage interest. So you cannot account for your whole mortgage payment being principal and interest. You can only account for the interest paid when you make that payment. Rent, utilities, worker protection costs related to COVID-19, uninsured property damage due to looting and vandalism in 2020, and certain supplier costs and expenses. 60% of your money does have to be spent on payroll. Employee and compensation levels are to be maintained. So you cannot decrease somebody's salary in half. You do have to maintain those average salaries that employees were making. How long do you have to use the money? You can select anywhere between 8 to 24 weeks. So at minimum, you have to do it in 8 weeks. You have 8 weeks to use the money. You have up to 24 weeks to use that money. Who can apply? Businesses that have less than 500 employees, including nonprofits, veteran organizations, self-employed, sole proprietors. So sole proprietors would be those single owner LLCs. You would use your Schedule C. And then you have independent contractors using 1099s. And I have a diagram in a few slides that will kind of help show you that I think will help better explain this. So first-time borrowers, and by we say first-time borrowers, that means you are first time to the program and you have never received a PPP. You can qualify for up to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll using 19 or 2020. And that would be using 940, 941s, 1099s, or Schedule Cs. And again, the diagram in a few slides will show you per your company type what document you would need to provide. But the biggest key here is 19 or 2020. You choose which one. Second-time borrowers, so that's borrowers who receive funding in 2020 and want to go back for a second round of funding, is the same as above, but certain NAICS codes, so certain industries that were highly impacted, can receive up to 3.5 times their average monthly payroll. So if you're a first-time borrower in that certain industry, you're at 2.5 times no matter what. At second-time borrowers, if you are in a certain industry or NAICS code, you can get up to 3.5 times. And those are going to be your food and accommodations and your hotel and hospitality industries are the biggest ones for those. Updated March 2021, and I highlighted it because I've edited my slide a few times. So as of the beginning of March 2021, borrowers who use a Schedule C can now choose from one of the below to determine the loan amount. So prior, Schedule Cs used net income, line 2831, and a lot of people were negative. And unfortunately, if you were a negative net income, you couldn't get a PPP because you didn't truly, quote, make money. So what they did was they changed it. You now have the option. You have the option to use your Schedule C gross revenues line 7 with no consideration for line 26 of wages, or you can use line 26 wages and the net income, which is the bottom line, line 27 or 31. A lot of people are now going with line 7. That is capped at $100,000 because per the PPP program, no employee can make over 100,000. So if that line is 105, you do have to reduce it to 100,000. Borrowers whose PPP was already dispersed and approved before this effective date, March of 2021, as of right now, cannot go back and ask for a recalculation. We cannot go back and retro these back. I have heard that that is in the pipeline to be potentially changed, but as of right now, if you got funding in January or February, you cannot go back and ask your lender to redo your loan amount. This was only going forward on any new applications. Additional changes to that act that came out in March of 2021. So round 1, PPP borrowers so people who got loans last year, if your loan was 50,000 and under, you got to do what they called an S form, and a very simple form that just says, here's what my loan amount was. Here's what I did with the money, your business name, EIN, and you just turned it in, no documents, no nothing. What happened was they changed that to be 150,000. So now any borrower whose loan is 150,000 and under can do this reduced form. You do not have to provide any payroll documentation to the SBA, and they're saying that you can fill out this easy form and just submit it. Now, that doesn't mean that the SBA would not audit your application, and your lender is required to provide and ask you for those documentations, but to fill out the application for forgiveness is very simple. So that was nice that they raised that threshold. The Economic Aid Act also notified lenders that if someone had an EDIL advance, basically what was happening is their PPP was being reduced by the EIDL advance. So borrowers were being stuck with these loan balances and lenders were having to ask for repayment. With this update, what they did was they said, no, we're going to make this right. And the EIDL became an advance and the SBA repaid in full the PPP forgivenesses. So I had some borrowers who we had to say, I'm sorry, you got an EIDL of $10,000. You now have to pay back the $10,000 to one-to-one financial because they reduced your PPP loan. The SBA has now paid me that $10,000 and the borrower does not owe the credit union any money. So if you got a notice from your lender that said, hey, you have a PPP balance due to your EIDL advance, please get with your lender. We notified our members that says this has been repaid in full. So I would get with them because those should be coming in. Now, if your PPP did not get forgiven in full due to not use of money properly, that was not being taken care of. That you still do owe the lender. Here's a diagram I was talking about. Now, this is for our credit union and our vendor. We kind of came up with this diagram just to kind of help people. So at the top, it says, what forms do I need to apply? And it'll say, do you have employees? Yes, no, or no. So then it breaks it down by type. So you have C Corps, S Corps, LLCs, partnerships, nonprofits. And then you follow that column all the way down. So for C Corps and S Corps, if you have 941, 940 W3, then those would be appropriate documents for you to turn in to us for a paycheck protection loan to be determined. For sole proprietors or self-employed, those would be Schedule C borrowers. Single owner LLCs would also fall within that column. And then if you do not have any and you're just an independent contractor, you can use your 1099. You also have to provide verification to the credit union or the lender that you were in business on or before February 15th of 2020. That was the deadline for the SBA when they rolled out this program. It shows you at the bottom of this in one of the bottom columns, if you're a C Corp, S Corp, or LLC, you can provide a 941 from the first quarter of 2020. If you're a single owner, sole proprietor, or LLC, you can provide a bank statement. So it has your personal name or your business's name at the top. And then it's run through February 15th of 2020. And if you're a 1099 contracted employee, it would be a personal bank statement from February 15th of 2020. If you are a second time borrower, you do have to provide a 25% reduction between 19 to 2020 in order to qualify. And for that, we have down here in this peach section, we have it listed as to what you can use to show that reduction. So what is an example that you can use to show that reduction in revenues to qualify for round two? So I will stop right here. This is the end of the PPP section. So if we have any questions, we will answer any of them that pertain to the PPP program in this half so that we don't confuse it with the commercial lending in the second half.
Perfect. Thank you, Tillery. Yes, folks, I didn't see any come in the chat. Please also feel free, if you'd like, to use that raise hand function. If you'd like to be unmuted and ask a live question, we can do that. Okay, Gregory Cooper has got his hand raised. I'm going to allow you to talk. You can unmute yourself now.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Had a good day. Concerning the PPP, I tried to do a second round and I couldn't show, of course, that I had a 25% decrease. My business started actually in 2019. It was not hard to beat that. You know what I mean? So I'm sort of like stuck. Is there any, what else can I show that I got affected?
So tell me, what type of business are you? Single owner LLC, S Corp, C Corp?
C Corp.
Okay.
I wanted to be S, but I didn't put the SR, whatever that form is, so I'm a C Corp.
Okay, but you're a corporation.
Yes.
Because it depends on the type as to like how you file tax returns. So
Right.
do you have profit and loss statements? So a P&L
Yes, I do.
from 19 and then one from 2020. So you have the options, you have two options. You can do it from what they say a quarter in time. So let's say you pick Q4 of 2019, because that's when you opened, okay? And you would show a profit and loss for that quarter. And then you would show a profit and loss for the same quarter in 2020. So then you would pull the P&L from Q4 of 2020. You would put them side by side, or you can upload two documents, but we would go based upon the gross revenues in 19 Q4 compared to the gross revenues in 2020 Q4. And is there a reduction? You can also do the entire year. So you can run a profit and loss from January to December of 19 to January to December of 2020 and look at the gross revenue or gross receipts as well.
Yeah, I did that. And like I said, it was like, I think the smallest one I had was like 13%, which it doesn't qualify. But like I said, it was like I started my business in 2019. And again, it wasn't hard to beat that.
Right. And that's the hard part. I mean, that is the hard part. I have a few people that started their business in 19 and they, didn't sell anything, but then in 2020, maybe they didn't meet their revenues or their goals that they had hoped, but they did sell a little bit. And unfortunately, right now with the program, that is the way it's set, is at the 25% reduction. And there's no way around that.
Okay. And the next question is with the loan, the IDL. Okay. I think they said I had my PPP forgiven 100%. So what about I haven't heard nothing about the loan, the EIDL.
So there's a difference. There's an EIDL advance, which was $10,000 or less. They were passing those out based upon the amount of employees that you had. until they could review applications.
Okay,
So we hear that that is a true grant, which is the way that program ran out.
got you.
So the advance they are rolling out, and I believe is to be a true advance. The
Okay.
loan, you still have to repay the loan if you got a loan, which you should have received documents that said, I think it's like 3.75%.
Yes.
Most of them are like up to 30 years. That you still do have to repay.
Okay.
Yes.
One more
So
question.
there's a difference, and you have to be careful the way you word the question.
Okay.
Just to
I
make
just
sure
wrote it
you're,
down.
yes, yes.
I
There's,
heard you.
yes. Mhm.
One more question. But
One more.
The I think there was a chance to increase that loan, and I applied for that. But I haven't heard anything from them. Where do I go? I mean, like when the wall
You're
landed.
talking, so I took that slide out. So you're talking about the targeted EIDL. I've heard a little bit about that. Again, the EIDL loan is straight from the SBA. That was not from
Okay.
lenders like myself. So we didn't
Okay.
do those programs. So I know very limited information about those because I've read enough to be dangerous, but because we don't do them, I don't want to, I don't want to be the person to answer a lot of those questions.
So I should
So
go SBA.
So SBA is doing what they're calling a targeted EIDL. They're kind of reviewing applications that maybe you didn't get the full 10,000 advance, or people who didn't get it at all because money ran out or something like that. So SBA will be contacting those people directly. They are asking that you do not contact them. They will contact those people who qualify. They're doing certain zip codes or industries. They're looking at those people first, and they will be notifying you by email, and will be then telling you what you need to do to apply for an increase.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you. That actually helped too, because we had Angela had a question that was answered through that. So that was great. Next question that came in is from Cynthia Lynn. Will there be an extension of the March 31st deadline?
So we hear, Cynthia, that yes, there is going to be an extension. There is already talk. There was an article that came out today, and I can't remember if it was the Wall Street Journal. It had already passed. I believe it was the House, and it was headed to the Senate. Then it was headed to the president. So we do believe there is going to be an extension of the March 31st. They are stating that it will be extended to the end of May. And then they will extend that to the end of June to allow SBA to continue to process applications. So it's almost like it will be extended to May for you to get your application into me, and me to get it to the SBA. And then the SBA has 4 weeks to review any of them that were submitted prior to the end of May. So yes, there is not an official stamp of approval, but that is in discussions that has been around that will be extended.
Awesome. Next question, where can we find, this is from Laura Stager, where can we find details on what is considered forgiven? For example, payroll, rent, utilities, etc.
Laura, I would love to know that information as well. I wrote exactly on that slide, exactly what was written from the SBA regulations. It is posted on sba.gov. I pulled down the reg, I pulled down the notice that they did, and I typed it word for word for word. I have heard that payroll is pay. I know it does not include federal taxes or any taxes like that. Rent would be per your lease agreement. So I've been asked to ask people for a copy of their lease, and it can only run through the day. So if your lease starts on the 1st of the month, but you got your paycheck protection money on the 13th, then they would only account for your lease payment from the 13th to the last day of the month. They would not account your full lease payment. So if your lease payment is $6,000 and you got your money halfway through the month, you can only account for $3,000 of that going towards rent. Utilities, I've heard, is water, electric, and like phone, cable, internet is the basics of utilities that I have heard. But again, I've never seen it written on paper. I tell our borrowers to use it all for payroll. You have 24 weeks to use the money. And if you continue just to use it for payroll and keep everybody's pay the same, you should well exceed that amount per payroll. So that's what I've been kind of telling our borrowers. And it's easier when you apply for forgiveness because you just run your payroll summary and you just submit that one document. And in an audit, I've been through about 35 audits with the SBA for PPP. Using it all for payroll makes it a lot easier for an audit as well.
Awesome. I've got a couple more questions in the chat,
Sure.
but I'm going to give Keisha the microphone. She's got her hand raised. So hold on just a second. All right, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
I got a adult daycare for special needs, and I really lost during the pandemic. But for the second round, they say rejected, and I did it through ViStar. If I was trying to get an account with 12 Financial, but the inside is still closed. Is it if I come over there? Do I have to have a history with you guys to help with the PPP loan or no?
So my information is going to pop up at the end. So I'm going to ask that you email me, but I will give you a basics to your answer. But I'll talk to you after. So 1-to-1 Financial Credit Union is taking applications for the Paycheck Protection Program. We are accepting first round and second round borrowers. You do not have to be a member of ours to apply. We are taking non-members. What we're doing is we're taking your PPP application. We're seeing if we can verify and approve you for a PPP. Because sometimes people's financials just don't have the financials needed to get a PPP, especially the second round showing that decrease in revenues. We then submit it to the SBA and make sure the SBA approves it. And then we will make you a member on the backside in order to be able to fund it.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next question comes from Angela. So to clarify on the loan spending timeframe, we need to wait 8 weeks before spending it and then spend within 24?
No, you at minimum. So you, so they say you have to spend it within 8 weeks. So you can't, when you file for PPP forgiveness, there's not an option to pick 6 weeks. So at minimum, you have 8 weeks to spend it, or you have at max 24 weeks. So start spending as soon as you get it. But when you file for PPP forgiveness, the minimum option is I used it within 8 weeks.
Okay. If we are a single member LLC with no employees, what documents do we need to show we paid ourselves? Is it a bank statement showing the deposit? And this is from Angela.
So Angela, that is one where it kind of falls into this middle column, and I left this up for now because I figured there would be some questions. You fall into that sole proprietor, self-employed, no employees. You as the owner are the employee. You would provide your Schedule C tax return, and that is where you as the owner would account for line 7. The gross income or gross receipts would be your income as the owner, capped at $100,000. So you don't, so you don't have to show that you paid yourself as an owner. Your Schedule C, that is your money as the owner, and that's what they would account as the PPP.
Awesome. I think the last question we have before moving on is, what is 1-to-1's cutoff date for PPP2 application?
That is a great question. I do not think that we are going to close until the government cuts the program off. We will continue to accept applications until the program runs out.
Awesome. Alrighty, with that, we can move on. One quick note too for folks that were taking notes like we had asked and asked questions. I'm going to make sure that this PowerPoint is online for you to be able to review with the recording. So just know that you'll have access to go back and read some of these, bullets about the qualifications and regulations.
And Jackie's going to cut out all my stumbling and my nervousness. I'm just kidding. So we'll move on to the second half of the presentation. So Jackie and I had lunch one day and we were talking, and she had kind of mentioned to me about several questions that had been asked from several of y'all and people that come into the Women's Business Center about lending, and you just don't know where to go. You don't know the questions to ask, or maybe you're going into the wrong product. So I've got a few slides that I made to kind of have conversations and put these things out there. So if you are a new business owner and you're looking at getting lending at some point, you kind of know what you need to ask your lender, or where you need to go to get those items. So the first thing I did, oops, I'm not in my presentation anymore. Give me one second. So the first thing I did a slide on was commercial auto loans. So a lot of people think they can't buy a personal type car as a commercial auto. And what I say by personal or consumer type car is trucks. Those are F-150s, Ram 1500s, Silverados, F-250s, something similar like that, a pickup truck. It's got 2 or 4 doors. SUVs, Expeditions, Tahoes, Edges, Equinoxes, those small SUVs. And then cars, 4-door cars. Those you can purchase as a business. You can get a business loan and have the title in the name of your business. Some people will, we advise you go talk to your attorney or your CPA to find out, should you buy it personally and you can go to your personal banker and get a loan, or should you go to your business banker and buy them in a business's name? There's different ways you can write it off on taxes and items like that. So you can purchase personal type cars in a business's name, and those would come to your business banker or your business lender. You can also buy commercial type vehicles. Now, these listed below your personal, banker or the consumer side of the credit union or bank would not finance these because these are true commercial cars and would have to go to the commercial side of the credit union. These would include items like box trucks, flatbed trucks, so items for like landscaping to haul long trees, and then tow trucks, cargo vans. And by cargo vans, I mean they have no seats besides the 2 up front. So these would be like plumbers where they have all the material in the back of them. Or popular right now, everybody's got them in their neighborhood, Amazon vans. They've got 2 seats in the front and the whole box back of it is empty for boxes. Those are true cargo vans, commercial style. F-450s and F-550s with toolboxes. So you see those plumbers or the guys working on the roads, they've got the boxes on the side of the truck with the rails. Those are commercial type as well, along with semis and tractor trailers and semi trailers. Those are true commercial ones. So those are all loans that can be done on the commercial side. Some people are afraid because they're just buying a little car that the business can't get it, and they can. So the next one I did a slide on is equipment. So if you're buying an auto, you want to ask for an auto loan, a business auto loan. If you were buying a piece of equipment, and I gave some examples below that we'll go through, you want to ask for a business equipment loan. Business equipment loans are very similar to auto loans. They're normally a set interest rate, a set repayment of 3 to 5 years, and you know exactly what the payment is, and you know how to pay it every month, and it is set that way. Equipment are items like washer and dryers, riding lawnmowers, stump grinders, pressure washers, boats, trailers. Trailers under 2 tons don't have titles with the state. They have certificate of origins, which is fine. Large coffee machines, they've got serial numbers on the side. Kitchen equipment, such as ovens and walk-in coolers, and then medical equipment like x-ray machines and chiropractic tables. The items listed above would have a serial number. So they normally have a plaque on the side of the equipment, and you would have the model and serial number. And the lender would file what they call a UCC. It's a Uniform Commercial Code with the state of Florida that basically says this piece of equipment with this serial number belongs to this institution. And then when the loan is paid off, they would release that UCC. It's very similar to like a car title. Your bank or credit union takes the car title to your car when you have a loan. When you pay off the car, you get the title to your car. It's the same way for equipment, except because these don't have titles, we file what we call a UCC against it. Commercial real estate. So I kind of broke this down into a few. So investment property, or what some credit unions will call or bankers will call, they call it non-owner occupied commercial real estate, or NOOCRE. That's investment property. And what that means is it's property that you do not occupy or you do not work out of. if you do work out of it, you operate out of less than 51% of the square footage. So let's say you take a strip mall and you have 5 units and your business is in one of the units. Well, you don't occupy 51% of that whole strip mall. So you would be considered an investment property. It would be a non-owner occupied. Normally, the loan to value would be less, so you do have to put more money down on those. Institutions have different rules. I've heard of a lot of ones doing different, but normally because it's investment property and you don't occupy 51%, you do have to put a little bit money down, more money down, and it is sometimes a shorter term of a repayment. The second option is owner-occupied commercial real estate, or OOCRE. That is where the property you operate out of 51% of the square footage or more. So you can still rent out part of it, but it has to be 49% rented. So take that strip mall as again, you occupy 3 units at 51%, then you can rent out the rest of the units. That's perfectly fine as additional income. Those are normally a little bit longer of a term and a little bit less money down because you occupy majority of that property. You're there, you can make sure that nothing happens to it, and it is normally well taken care of. With owner-occupied commercial real estate, you have normally 3 options. You can do conventional lending. That means you go to your bank or credit union and get the loan with just them. You can do an SBA 7A loan, or you can do an SBA 504. So there are normally 3 different options. Now, I can tell you not in every lender offers the SBA program. Not every lender offers the 504 program and the 7A program. So you may find one that says, well, I'll do a 504, and then you'll go to someone else and they'll say, well, I'll only do a 7A. So you do have to, find out what program works best for you, and then find a lender that works best for you for the program that you're looking for. Jackie did want me to talk a little bit about the difference between the SBA loans. So we'll briefly go over some pros and cons. So the SBA 504 program is for purchasing real estate only. It cannot be used for business acquisitions. It cannot be used for working capital. It can only be used to purchase and renovate, or ground up construction and build a property. So you do physically have to have a property. That program, you can roll in renovations, you can roll in closing costs with the exception of attorney, and you can roll in some furnitures and fixtures for that program depending on what they are. That is a fantastic program, and depending on the type of business you are and how long you've been in business, you can look to put anywhere between 10 to 20% into the project. The SBA 7A can be used towards business acquisition. So if you're acquiring, let's say, another insurance company, but you're not getting the real estate, you're just getting their book of business, or a lawn care company where you just want to buy, his contracts or his items, but you're not really getting a lot of equipment. They're good for leasehold improvement. So you do not actually own the property, but you need to build out and renovate and make that restaurant unit yours, or anything like that, the daycare, but you don't actually physically own the building. You can also purchase real estate within the 7A program, but the 504, we as a credit union feel is a better loan option for that. For 7A loans, you do have to put any personal residency or any house that you own in your personal name up as collateral. You do have to have a life insurance policy for those. There are some lenders that do them as variable rate loans based on the Wall Street Journal Prime, and there are some lenders that do them as fixed rate loans. So if that is a product that you're looking at getting for any of these, I would, kind of shop around the lenders and find out, because the lender's rate can be different per different lenders. So not every lender is going to give you the same rate for a 504 or a 7A or even conventional. So you just have to find out what product would fit best for you, and then find you the lender that fits best for you as well. The last loan product I have is, oh, I guess I double put the bubbles on there, is line of credits. So most lenders review line of credits annually, requesting updated financials and credit reports. So, these are things where they do look at these every year. And so just because you got it last year or 2 years ago, the lender is going to look at them again to see if they're going to renew this for you. Lines of credit do have to quote what we call revolve, meaning that it does have to be paid down or paid off annually and normally unused for a certain period of time. So you do have that revolving and that rest period in there. Line of credits are great for short-term funding. So a lot of people will call and say, I want to buy an auto and I want a line of credit. No, you need an auto loan. Line of credits are great for short-term funding. Those are great for seasonal businesses like lawn care companies, where they have the high in the spring and the summer. And then when they're kind of going down in the winter, they can draw from that line of credit to make payroll and to pay the expenses. And then when the spring and summer hits, they can pay off that line of credit and then use it again when the winter hits. They're great for boat dealers, again, because they sell a lot of boats in the spring and summer, and then they kind of downfall into the winter when they don't have as many sales. They're great for businesses that are paid by medical insurance, where you have that net 45 to net 90 days. So you're still having to pay your staff, but you're not getting paid by the medical insurance or government contracts, anybody like that. The last one I have is, what do I look for in a business plan? So for new businesses or businesses that are expanding, and this is me as a lender, all lenders are different, but these are the top 3 things that I really look for in a business plan. I like to see, what is your business model and what is your marketing plan? So how are you going to get out there, and what's your marketing plan to tell people about you? What are you going to do with my money? My employees laugh. They always joke, what are you going to do with my money? That's what you say to people all the time. But it is true. A lender wants to know, what are you going to do with the money? How is my money going to be spent? This also kind of ties into the last few slides we have. So I have that conversation with people and they're telling me, well, I need an auto, and then I need to buy some expenses. We may structure the loan in a few different loan types. I'll finance your auto as an auto loan. You want to buy a trailer and a pressure washer, then we're going to do an equipment loan for that. And then you need some help making payroll or buying expenses. Maybe that's a line of credit or a credit card. So instead of a $100,000 loan, I'm going to break it up into 3 separate loans that would work best for me and for you as well. And then the first question and the third kind of tie together. So I asked, what's your model and what's your marketing plan? I'm going to ask, who are your competitors and what makes you different from them? And, if someone in the Jacksonville area has been around for 20 years, what makes you different from them? And what makes you think that people are going to leave going there for the past 20 years to come to you? So what's going to drive them over to your business, and what's going to make you set apart from them? So those are kind of the 3 biggest things that I look at when I look at doing some loans for people. So do we have any questions on the second round? Let me look. I think Jackie had to jump off for a second.
Yep, I am here with you though.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, you're not by yourself. You're good. If anybody, thank you so much. That was so
You're welcome.
informative and so great. I think we've learned from the first part that those questions are super key in getting that additional information. So if you guys have any other questions, I am looking at the chat. Feel free to go ahead and type anything into the chat. If you want to kind of speak and ask your questions out loud, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll give you access to your camera. I'm sorry, to your microphone. I don't see any hands. Oh, I do see hands. I lied. All right. So Michaela, I am giving you access to your microphone.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Michaela Brockington. I live in Georgia. I was wondering, in reference to commercial lending, are we talking in reference to our business credit or more of our personal side? Do you have to have a grantor? What different types of stipulations is required for one-to-one financial credit union, especially since I live in Georgia and not in Florida?
So one-to-one financial credit union is based in Jacksonville, and we can only lend within the 12 surrounding counties within the state of Florida. So that is like Clay, Duval, St. John's, Nassau, Baker, Alachua, Putnam County, Flagler. So unfortunately, the state of Georgia is not in our territory. But what I can tell you is, and every lender is different. So you'll talk to some lenders, but most lenders will require a personal guarantee, which means any business owner will have to guarantee that loan. So the loan is done in the name of the business, but you have to personally guarantee. So if the business is unable to pay, any personal guarantees would have to make the payment on behalf of the business, or they could come to collect if in default. Every lender is different when it comes to credit. Most will always pull credit scores on personal credit. What their criteria is and what their cutoff is going to be different for every institution. And then some will pull business IntelliScore or Dun & Bradstreet's or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And now I have Beatrice. Beatrice, I'm sorry. I am going to allow you to talk so you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I think one of my basic questions, when you talk about equipment, is it limited to what you had on the list?
No, ma'am. And that was just something that came to my head as I was kind of making the presentation. So equipment can be a whole range of things. Those were just things that kind of had popped out to me when I was making the slideshow to kind of just give you some examples.
Okay, I've actually talked to you not too long ago. I've actually started my business. What I mean by that is I have to do a lot of construction to the vehicle that I purchased. I purchased a bus, and
Okay.
I have to convert it to what I'm using it for business purposes. And I'm finding myself needing more funding.
Okay. So a lot of times when it comes to, so that would be not an equipment, a bus would be a title. So that would be more of that commercial auto. Same thing with, I know I left it off on the slide, food trucks. Those actually have titles like vehicles. So you can actually put that item up as collateral, and it is based on the value of that as to what you can get a loan for. So a lot
Okay.
of times people who want food trucks, they can lend on the title of the food truck. And then sometimes depending on what the food truck is going to be, sometimes they can lend on the equipment inside of it. Some have ovens and like large fryers and stuff like that. So they can also lend on the equipment inside of it.
Okay. Yeah, because I could give you an example of what I'm doing, and then you'll probably remember me.
So if you
I'm-
want to, you can reach out to me after.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to talk to you and kind of reevaluate that. And then we can kind of see where you are and what we can try and do to help.
Okay.
Yeah. And I put the slide back up. I kind of got out of PowerPoint presentation mode for a second, but my slide's back up. It's got my email on it. It's also got my phone number, which is my cell phone. But you are more than welcome to reach out to me. We can set an appointment and then we can talk about that.
Okay. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Gregory has another question. So I am going to go ahead and give you access to your microphone.
Once again, hello.
Hi.
Thank you for the information. I really enjoy it. Okay, first question is, you know me, I got a couple of questions. Never just one. Oh, what about Hillsborough County?
Where is Hillsborough?
Tampa.
No, that's too far
Polk-
for us.
Polk
Very
County?
So very easy. We go to the state line. We cannot cross into the state of Georgia. I can go down into Alachua County where University of Florida is. We go over into Stark and then we come up 301.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So that's a very simple way of kind of showing you our box of area.
The next question,
But I would suggest anybody that's down there to kind of look at some lenders that are down there. We are a very small credit union. Some people may have never heard of us. I would look for a lender that's down there. Try and find you a small credit union like me down there that, you can try and talk to that may do stuff like this.
That was the next question.
Mhm.
I think that I know you couldn't say go here and put the sign up, but what do you categorize your credit union as more of, so I can find one that's relative in the same bracket as yours? I think because the credit union or the bank that I use is huge, and it's always trying to, weave through whatever they have. And then every time I go to a seminar, you have this little credit union like, what y'all have, and then y'all's telling us everything to do, but you're way off somewhere we can't even reach you.
Right.
You
I mean,
know,
it depends. I mean, you're going to have to kind of just, Google who's in your area and then call and see, or look up online, kind of see, look at their website and see, do they do business banking? There are some that are small credit unions that don't do it at all. There are some small credit unions like us that we do, a full service business department. And then there's some large credit unions that don't do any. So it's just going to depend on, does that credit union have the expertise to do it? Do they have the knowledge to do it? Are they certified to do it? So every single one of them is going to be different.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
All right, thank you so much, Gregory. And I see Beatrice raised your hand again, so I am giving you access to your microphone again.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
Do you have to submit the application for the loan and the business plan together or upon request?
So it depends. Some people that have been in business for a while, we don't normally require a business plan because we can see your previous historical financials, tax returns, profit and losses and stuff like that. Normally business plans are requested if you're a new business and you have no business income, so you don't have those tax returns or financials to show us. Or if you're trying to expand your business from, let's say you're at home and you're trying to buy a building or go into a lease improvement and you're asking for a large loan, we're going to ask for that business plan to show your growth model. How do you plan this is going to work? How are you going to, tell people that you're now down the street instead of at your front door anymore? So
Okay.
it really depends on the loan and the industry and how long you've been in business, whether we ask for one or not.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
So I
All
see a
right.
question on here. How long does approval take for a building loan? That is a good question. There's a few different answers for that. A, every lender is going to be different. B, what type of loan are you getting? Any of those SBA 504s and any of those SBA 7As, that program does kind of take a little bit to get into, and it depends. Are they using a vendor? Are they not using a vendor? The paycheck protection loan did slow some of those down for a while because those have to be approved by the SBA, and the PPP kind of took over that. And again, it depends on, are you doing ground up construction? Are you doing renovation? Do you have all of your construction budgets and plans and all of that in place that you can provide the lender and or the SBA for that? Because that would need to know and determine your loan. So I would say, at best, anywhere between probably 90 days to 6 months, just depending on where you are and what all do you have for that.
Awesome. And we do have another question in the chat, and is, what if you have no business credit yet?
A lot of it for us, we look at personal credit score. So some people don't have business credit yet, or they have very limited business credit yet. We look at personal credit, and that's something that we highly look at. So that is one of the determining factors, is personal credit.
Awesome, thank you.
welcome.
Let me see. I don't see any other questions in the chat. I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. So I think we're gonna wrap it up if you guys are good. I thank you so much, Tillery. You are
You're welcome.
awesome. This has been so informative and so great. To everybody, please contact Hillary if you have any further questions. You have her information. And if you have any other further questions about anything, if there's anything else we can help you here at the Jacksonville Women's Business Center, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask your questions. We are here to help you. And with that, oh, and also when we close our webinar, you will see a little feedback form. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys kind of fill that out. It just kind of gives us more information about what you're looking for and what other programs we should be thinking of. You know, like this program actually came from your feedback forms. So please let us know what you want to hear about. And again, Hillary, thank you so much.
You're
This has been
welcome.
amazing. And everybody else, just have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Tillery.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.